Have you ever thought that every adventurous expedition just simply works out? This is the story of our quest to reach Moab, every Jeeper's dream, out west.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today's video is about our trip to Moab, Utah with the Mollers. We just got to the Rock Creek State Park Campground here in Kellogg, Iowa. So we just got our tent set up. Dennis and Steph are setting theirs up right now. I think it's just going to be a chill night tonight. So nothing really to report on our way out here so far, other than we stopped in Walcott, Iowa at the world's largest truck stop. You guys have seen that before. I'll roll a few clips from when we were there before, and we saw Kara and Nate 3 years ago on our trip out to Colorado. This time we actually saw one of our next door neighbors was passing through, coming back from a trip that they were on. So that was really unexpected, but yeah. Went to the world's largest truck stop, and now we are just getting set up at camp. And tomorrow should be another big travel day, heading towards Colorado, and we'll be camping in Colorado tomorrow. So we'll see you guys then. But for now, we're gonna just kind of relax, enjoy maybe a campfire, and then we'll see you guys in the morning. Bye. Good morning, guys. So we left our campsite in Rock Creek State Park Campground about 15 minutes ago or so. We started headed down the road on I-80, and we're stopping here first thing this morning at the Newton Speedway Love's gas station. There is a NASCAR racetrack here at this exit. I don't think they run Cup. I think they run Truck Series here, but nonetheless, there's still a NASCAR Speedway right next to this Love's truck stop, and we're just topping off on fuel for the morning, grabbing a little breakfast, and we'll be hitting the road again. So the plan today is to get through all of Iowa, get through Nebraska, and into Colorado, and we should get to Denver this afternoon. I'm so freaking excited. I love Colorado. All right, check in with you guys in a little bit. Enjoy the ride. All right, whoa. We need to catch you guys up with what's happened.
We're coming from the peanut gallery.
We need to catch you guys up on what's happened to get us to this point. I'm sure there's lots of questions from the previous footage. We are here at Stony Pass Trail in Colorado. We're somewhere between like Woodland Park and Breckenridge in the mountains. We're at about 8,700 feet in elevation. As you have seen, we've got our Jeep with the rooftop tent. Dennis and Steph have a red JLU with a ground tent. So we didn't really get to film much of this because there was a lot of anxiety and stress of figuring out how we needed to handle the situation that we were in. So I'm gonna let Dennis take over and tell you guys, catch back up on what actually took place to get us to this point.
Okay, well, we stopped for the night. I guess it would be Saturday night, in just outside of Denver. And when we got off the highway, we noticed a unusual ticking in the motor of my JL, and it wasn't good. It wasn't normal. So we were fortunate it happened near Denver, and there's a mechanic open on Sundays, and we took it there. And
I'm going to add to that real fast. When we pulled into this campground, he asked me to get, when I was out of the Jeep, he asked me to listen to his Jeep because it sounded like there was a card in the tire spoke, like of your bicycle. So that was the sound that he was hearing coming from his Jeep. So we were driving right next to him. I didn't hear anything. It sounded completely normal. But then when we actually pulled into the campsite, I got out and he said, listen to this, something's wrong with my Jeep. And sure enough, I got underneath, and to me initially, before I got underneath, it sounded like it was like an exhaust leak when he revved it up a little bit. And when I say rev it up, he just brought the RPMs up just a little bit, just so we could hear it. And so then I got underneath and I was listening to it. It sounded like there was a ticking noise. I couldn't tell if it was driver's side, passenger side, both. I wasn't sure. But then there was also a bit of a knocking noise, and the knocking noise is what kind of scared me. The ticking could be a lot of various things. It could be something major, but it could also be something very minor too. So when we heard that, that's when kind of panic started to set in a little bit of, okay, we need to have this looked at. We were starting to second guess a lot of things. I had brought up the idea that maybe if any of you have traveled out west, you'll notice that being that we're from Michigan, we only deal with 87 octane is regular fuel for us. Then we have 89 for premium, and then you can get 91 or 92 in a lot of different places. But we always fill up with 87 octane, which is regular, and the owner's manual actually says run 87 regular fuel. So you get out here out west, even in Iowa and Nebraska, there was different fuel. There was E85, there was no ethanol, there was ethanol, there was a bunch of various fuel selections at the pumps, and as if it was no big deal or nothing different for any of them. It was regular use for everybody out there. So we were just trying to make sure that we were putting the correct fuel in the Jeeps. And so once we got into the mountains, it's more prevalent and more known that these people around here, they run 85 fuel because of the altitude, and that's a whole other story and rabbit hole we can get down. But nonetheless, I second guess and question, because at our last fuel stop in Colorado, I didn't fuel up, Elizabeth did, Dennis fueled up, and I said, is there any possibility that maybe you put the wrong fuel in? Is that why you're having a bit of an issue? Do we need to go and just run your fuel out and then put good fuel in that we know is good? Do we go and fill it up and dilute it, because he was, what, 5/8 of a tank or so? Yeah. So we still had a decent amount of fuel in the tank, and however, we were at the base of the mountain, so we could go up those mountains and run a lot of fuel out quicker than we probably could anywhere else. But somebody coming down the trail right now. It might be that Ranger again. Let's see. There he goes, making his pass.
Not wound up this time.
He's speeding up going down the hill. I guess I'll let him take over from here.
Fortunately, if this had to happen, it happened near a major city. So we were able to find a mechanic that was open on Sunday.
That's something else to note. We pulled into camp Saturday afternoon at like 5, 6 o'clock in the afternoon, local time in Denver. What automotive shop is going to be open after that on a Saturday, let alone open on a Sunday?
Right. So we found, I think Elizabeth actually found Saul's Auto Tech, open 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We got up bright and early, and they were a first come, first serve, so they opened at 7. We were there at 6:30. The owner was already in. Doors were open, so we were first in line, and unfortunately, which was nice, they got us right in, but the bad news was...
Well, hold that thought 1 second. Just prior to that, prior to getting to the automotive shop, when we were talking the fuel idea, we actually went to a fuel station, what did we put in it, 91 octane, to try and burn out any of the bad fuel that was in there already, and let's drive it around and see if it gets any better. At the time, driving it from basically Red Rocks Amphitheater over to the Indian Hills Community Center area, you go up and over a mountain basically, or through a mountain, and it did seem like it was getting better. The noise was getting less, it was being quieter, and at times it seemed like it went away. However, when we pulled back into the campground, it was just as loud as it was before. It hadn't gone away. So we checked the oil. Oil levels were fine. Oil pressure was fine. The oil was full. The oil looked fine. It smelled fine. It didn't seem burnt or anything. All of that checked good. So we were kind of at a loss for what to do. You're 1,200 miles away from home. So that's where deciding to go to the automotive shop, it was necessary. So pick back up from there.
Yeah. So we got there, we got in line. They had 3 people on my Jeep. They checked it out. I can highly recommend Saul's Auto Tech, because they had 3 guys right on it, and they checked everything on my Jeep, not just the engine, not just the problem that I was telling them about, but they pulled all the tires out, they checked all my suspension, but unfortunately when they checked the motor, they came in and said, hey, everything looks great on your Jeep except your motor, and you got some bad valves, and they suspect rod bearings going out. The valves were the source of the ticking noise, and the rod bearings, they say, was the source of the clunking noise, like when you start it up. So their recommendation was a new motor. Unfortunately, it only has 72,000 miles on it, 12,000 miles out of warranty, and I didn't buy the extended warranty. Then we had to decide, what are we going to do? I asked, do you think it will get back to Michigan? His recommendation was no, he wouldn't even drive it across town. I don't know, I know it's his job to sell me a motor, but he's the expert, I'm not. He said it absolutely would not drive it to Michigan. So I started weighing options as far as, do we flatbed at home or have it done here? And I thought about taking it home and seeing if I get my local dealer that does all my service to work with me. But then if I was successful in that, the added expense I would have of getting it home would offset pretty much anything. Saul gave me a quote, gave me a discount because of where I work. And
that's something that we were all trying to heavily weigh, like, what are the viable options that we have at this point? Forget the trip. The trip is what it is. It will become what it becomes. If we need to turn around right now and bring this thing home, that's what we're going to do. But what is the most feasible option for Dennis and Steph in their Jeep? Because at the end of the day, this is his daily driver. He has to have this Jeep to get him to and from work. So in the meantime, we're 1,200 miles away from home, and we're looking into all the options of getting a truck, trailer, U-Haul, whatever it may be. Can we flat tow it? If we drove it, how far could we go? If we did try and drive it, what are the risk reward out of it? Is it going to lock up? Is it going to catch fire? There's a lot of ifs that could turn out really bad for very little gain.
And it could happen in the middle of nowhere and not in a major U.S. city that we were fortunate to be in.
Right.
So, Sal gave me a quote, like I said, gave me a discount, offered me a rental Jeep, which is the red Jeep that we referenced earlier, which, yeah, it's a mall crawler, but it's a Jeep. So we can still enjoy the scenery and the local area. We're not headed to Moab anymore, like Kyle said. We'll see what happens when we get my Jeep back, but we decided to have them put a motor in here. All things considered, it was just most cost effective to do it here. We'll spend a couple days here afterwards, although there's no break-in period per se. We'll stick around for a couple days just to make sure nothing goes wrong immediately, because if it does, I'd rather have it happen here where I can take it back to the people that put the motor in, instead of having it happen in the middle of Nebraska, where we have to jump through hoops to find out who to take it to, because it will be warranted for 3 years, 100,000 miles, nationwide network of mechanics. So we weighed our options.
Well, and that was the other thing too, is he said 2 to 3 days to get this motor in, pulled out and in, out the door, ready to go. Yeah. So figuring out timing on, okay, what are we going to do in the meantime? Like, if we got 2 to 3 days, initially he had told him, what was it, like $90 a day or something like that for the Jeep rental, is what he had kind of in passing had said. So we were weighing, okay, by the time you add up that, we have some friends in Colorado Springs, James and Jamie, that have a Gladiator as well. Downside is both of our Jeeps do not have rear seats at the moment. So it's not like we could just have them hop in ours and we go around and do some sightseeing. Yeah, maybe we could go get another rental cheaper or something. But by the time that we discussed it, we were weighing all the options, and I actually reached out to James and Jamie to see if they would be so kind as to let us use their rear seats out of their Jeep so we could put them in mine, and then we could at least drive around and save the expense of them having to get a rental. And they were willing to do that, and I am so very grateful and thankful for them to do that. However, at the end of the day, when Dennis had asked about the rental, if he would throw it in with the price of everything, he handed him the keys, said no words. Yep. So
no paperwork, no mileage restrictions. He said, go have fun.
And insurance is on him, so just don't break it. So that's where we were at with, we have 2 to 3 days roughly to actually be able to do something in the meantime, since we have a Jeep. So although we're not going to Moab at the current moment, and although we're not able to go do significantly hard trails, which I'm not saying that's what we were trying to do in the first place anyway, this is worth, I mean, that Jeep, the Subarus could make it up here. Like most two-wheel drive vehicles could probably make it up here. Yeah. It's just a dirt road. There are some washboards. It's a little loose in some spots, and it's got a lot. Obviously, you're climbing the mountains, but to be able for them to have this Jeep, so that way we can do some fun things and make the most of our trip, is really great. So, anyhow,
I just want to add on to that. Not only James and Jamie offered up gracious hospitality, even open their home if we needed to. I want to add that, if something like this is going to happen, we were blessed that it happened in Denver. We were blessed that it happened, we had a mechanic that was open on Sunday and could get it, but we're also blessed to have these people with us, Kyle and Elizabeth, that support us 100% and had never batted an eye and said we'll do what we got to do, even though their plans were drastically changed by our misfortune too. So we want to thank them for that. But here we are. We're still having a great time. We're still having an epic experience doing stuff that I never dreamed I would have done 5 years ago when I first 7 years ago when I first got into Jeeping. I'm living the dream. And yeah, it's unfortunate. Yeah, it's a lot of money I didn't plan on spending, but you know what? It's all just part of the adventure, and that's how you take it day by day and do what you got to do. I'm just fortunate to have awesome people to do it with.
So to add to that, you know, after these next 2 to 3 days, whenever they give us a call and say, hey, here's where things are, he's supposed to be giving Dennis a call today. Saul is giving him an update, letting him know that he does have the motor. That was the other great thing that we didn't mention, is that on top of there was a lot of things that had to lead to him making the decision to pull the trigger for him to pull that motor and do it himself. Was one of them is it's a brand new Mopar motor. Yeah. It's not a reman motor. Yep. It is brand new. It comes with that 3-year, 100,000-mile warranty nationwide. All these things led up to that decision. Yep. So what I'm getting at is he's going to be calling today to let Dennis know that he does have the motor in hand. They did have one across the street at the dealership. They obviously just were not open on Sunday, so he's supposed to be getting it today. That's something else that we didn't touch really a lot on timeline. We pulled into Denver Saturday evening or Saturday afternoon. Then Sunday was when we took it to the Saul's Auto Tech, and then here we are Monday morning. So they should be getting hard on it today. So,
and he even thought it might be done as early as tomorrow. So I to have a less than 3 day turnaround on a motor replacement, that all weighed into it, like Kyle said.
Yeah, and like we said, obviously you guys know there's lots of other options for motors and other ideas, and yeah, the 3.6s have problems, and clearly his had a major problem, but at the end of the day, reliability and price point and everything that goes into it to drop it back in, it's 2 to 3 days to turn it around. He said worst case scenario Thursday. Like our plans aren't that drastically affected. Obviously we're not doing the exact plan that we had, but hey, that's part of the adventure. So that's where we're at now. Once we're able to get his Jeep back, we will touch base and see where we're going to go from there. Like Dennis said, we'll probably stick around for a little while, at least to see how things are doing with the Jeep, see where things are, if we want to continue, if we want to go home. We'll figure that out on the fly as we go. But for the next day, 2 days, we're going to be enjoying a little bit of the Front Range Mountains. And I'll be upfront and honest, I already told them this. I said, had this happened in like Iowa or Nebraska, I would not have the same outlook. No, it's all good. This literally could not have happened in a better place. We have friends that are relatively nearby. You're in a major U.S. city. You had a place that was open on a Sunday, and now that we have a rental, we can go and enjoy incredible places like this. Like you literally couldn't ask for a better spot. So that's what we're gonna do. I know I'm probably beating a dead horse at this point now, but we're just gonna go on adventure, take some trails, see where they lead us, and then in a day or two we're gonna head back towards Denver and go get Gray. So we will catch up with you guys in a little bit. Hope you enjoy the video. The final clips from this video are from the time that the Moores decided to go ahead and have Saul replace their motor up until the end of that evening when we found our camp. Something we didn't talk about in the interview was that all of the Moores' gear was attached to their Jeep, to their gray Jeep. Their rooftop tent was attached to the rack that's attached to their Jeep. Their awning was attached to the rack, which is attached to their Jeep. All of their gear inside was set up specifically for their Jeep, and items that had to be mounted to the Jeep specifically. For example, their fridge and their drawer storage, all of that had to be swapped over to this red Jeep. And that's something we didn't mention in the interview. But these remaining clips will display that, as well as when we left Saul's Auto Tech, we headed south to meet up with some of our friends, the Tootles, in Colorado Springs, before we ended up over at Garden of the Gods, where we would eventually explore and find our camp for the night. All right, well, we will touch on what actually happened, but in the meantime, we are swapping stuff from gray over to red so we can go have an adventure for a few days. Alright, so we're here at Garden of the Gods in Colorado Springs. We got a lot to catch up on with how we got here. It's been a whirlwind of a day, so we'll catch you guys up in a little bit. For now, we're gonna go enjoy Red Rocks, show you guys a little bit of that. Or not Red Rocks, Garden of the Gods. Babe, what are we having? She makes such a good quesadilla.